Hello from Bali. This is the podcast Pigeon of Peace, where we do discuss awesome skills of troubleshooters. Watch, listen, and check the description below for the details. Let's talk about wisdom, and let's start with the definition.
This is my lovely story. I was on the third course and I changed my cathedra to artificial intelligence, and suddenly I was asked my prof, do you know what is wisdom means? And I told him, no, I don't know. I think it's about an old man which told some stories which could lead someone to a success. But he told me, no, there is a chain and you should remember it forever. Data, information, knowledge, and wisdom. And I asked, yes, okay, now I will remember, but how you could explain in more words, in additional words? And my prof was saying, data, this is about, for example, yellow book. You have all numbers of telephone numbers of all inhabitants of New York. Information, when you have a request to this data, for example, you are looking for a dentist, best dentistry or best hair cutter, or maybe best laundry. So in this case, you will get just one or several numbers. Knowledge, when you already know that, for example, Maxim Golub is best product manager in the world, and you shouldn't ask in yellow pages. But wisdom, when you was working already with Maxim and you know what he is capable of. For example, you have a project and you will say, in this case, Maxim could help me, or he couldn't. But you would not ask someone and you would not hesitate. So data, information, knowledge, wisdom.
Now, if we look into this from that perspective, how do you actually can move to one level to another, and how do you actually ensure yourself that you get this piece of wisdom?
When people came to School of Troubleshooters, they are always on the level of data, and it's very sad. They know a lot of facts, and they know some rules, some principle, and they are, this like a fireplace with a lot of wood, which already has some heat, but it goes in different directions, and there is not focused. And then I tried to talk with them on information level. And when we, for example, start a new lecture, everyone was repeated what he remembers from the previous. And this is a stick connection between conjunction. Yes, so thank you. Conjunction between previous level data and information. So I am asking what you have remembered, and after the request, people looking into the mind, into the brain, what they have remembered and already stored. Then, for example, we start to solve some easy tasks, and for example, I will show some cases, and people will understand or not. In this case, we are going to the knowledge, and maybe you have already note this. Sometime when you repeat something about one skill, you will take something from another skill. And usually I'm smiling because this is level of the wisdom, because you could have or you could extract information from different pockets of your memory, and you will use it, заимствовать.
Take it or borrow.
You will take it or borrow from another pockets. And this is exactly wisdoms.
So whether it means that if you want to be wisdom or well-rounded, you actually need to not only dig deeper into one topic, but make sure that you cover other topics. Now, probably the question might be if you want to become wisdom in the skill A, how do you make sure that you map out all of the relevant skills, and how do you define the relevancy itself?
That's about timing. When we are sleeping, everyone thinking that we just have a rest. No, when we are laying in the bed with closed eyes, our brain has performed a huge job. This is about repairing of our muscles. This is about repairing our liquids. But there's also a lot of attempts how to build castles from our knowledges. And if you will sleep not enough, if you will read not too many books, if you will not go to lectures, if you will not have your own thoughts, your brain will not nothing to do with this. You have a lot of bricks, and if you, for example, for 1 year do not read 10 books and you will not attend 10 lectures, your brain will, I don't know how to say, but he will get in very unflexible, and he will forget how to do this. But in another case, if you are very, very interested, интересующийся,
curious,
if you are very curious, thank you, you will have a habit to dig information in everything, and you will anyway trying to combine. For example, you will find like someone on Bali cook maybe pineapples. Then you will see how people cook shrimps in Singapore. Then you will remember how people make some pastry in Dubai. And in this case, you could create another kind of dish from something leftovers in your fridge. But not many people could do this. They will say, okay, come on, I have such an ingredient, so if without this ingredients, I could do nothing. But wisdom is about knowledge which will follow from your thoughts. So sometimes you wouldn't know some step or some part of the ladder, but you will spend some time, you will dig in your information inside of your head, and you will create your own wisdom. And suddenly you will realize that in your head you have quite enough building materials for solving a lot of different problems.
It's actually quite interesting. When I move through different territories, sometimes there might be things that I would not really recognize for what they are. But if I wouldn't have like a distant knowledge from like something else, it would work as a similarity, so that I would make an assumption that would actually, like be right. For example, like when they tell you the name of the dish, or maybe they tell you the name of the flower, you actually could hear something similar, and then you can more or less recognize, and you actually could catch yourself on the thoughts thinking that if you would not have this like a previous knowledge, or maybe previous information or data, whatever, you could not really make this connections as well. But maybe the wisdom also may be having a different ways. Sometimes it also could lead to false hypotheses and false assumptions. So is there any way to set some sort of like a criteria to make sure that there is something that you definitely want to cut and forget for good?
Yes, sometimes it's happen, but the main issue about wisdom that you could dig it everywhere. For example, I was learning on second education. This was about business law, and I was forced to learn Latin, and I do not like this language for a very long time. It was dead language, and why should I know this? But after my first wife, she wanted to become a doctor, and I was helping her, especially with Latin. And my business law Latin will suit Latin for medicines. And my medicines attempts will improve my business law. And when I got my 5 on exam, the teacher was asking me, I have never seen a man who knows Latin so well. How you have done this? Do you have any repetitors or something like this? And I told her, no, I was forced to help another person to learn medical Latin. And after this, we have spent like 10 minutes. We were discussing difference between these two kind of languages. And another, my also lovely story. It was a very funny day. I was on the 2 exams. Early at the morning, I was on my law exam about philosophy. And at the end of the day, I was in aspirantura. It's okay to say?
Could be okay to say, or like a master's.
And suddenly I get the same exam. It was also philosophy with same person, and suddenly he told me, I have seen you somewhere. And I told him, yes, today I already got my 5 from you, but in another institution. And he was saying, but it's impossible coincidence. And I told him, yes, but there is no coincidence until I got 5 from you right now. And suddenly he asked me about some which was not in the ticket, and we start to talk about Newton, but I do not know a lot of Newton. And suddenly I told him, when I was reading some book about Lucrezia Carr, Nature of the Things, and there is 2000 years before Newton, Lucrezia Carr was telling about gravity and so on. And we continue to talk not about my ticket, not about my question, but we are talking about wisdom of this guy. And suddenly I realized, if you know a lot of persons, if you know a lot of biographies, if you know a lot of subjects, in this case, you will find how to make your speech to your examiner quite fancy.
And probably in our age of the like speed information, or maybe like a fast fooding for like a mental or like a brain stuff, probably people would ask like, hey, what is the optimal way to become like a really wisdom person? Is there like any shortcut, or maybe like some torn paths to like to get certain knowledge? And as I know, there was also research that you did with another student of the School of Troubleshooters to at least like to map out all of the skills. But whether this thing could be applicable to the wisdom, and whether it will be enough, or just like the beginning of it.
Wisdom is not about how to remember things. For example, yes, you're right. We have been creating some research with Albina Anisima from Kazan, and we found that this is enough. Enough to read 2,000 articles in the Wikipedia to become so powerful by your mind, but this is about how to remember. But when you talk about wisdom, this is not about how to read and remember, that's how to combine, how to create a new knowledge. For example, I will ask you, what do you think? Is it possible to boil an egg on the top of the Everest? Or I will ask you, what will happen with, for example, can of cola under the 80 meters under surface in the Pacific Ocean? And maybe it would be quite enough to you to understand that if we are going to high position, we couldn't boil an egg because water will boil something about 70 degrees. So it is not possible, for example, to create porridge. You should use some kind of vermicelli, by the way, to be wisdom. Vermicelli, this is from Italian, small worms. So if you know a lot of languages, you could understand how it works. For example, you have been born, if I'm not mistaken, in Kazakhstan. So you should know that, for example, деньги in Russian language, it comes from tenge, which is Turk's word. And if you know, for example, how to speak with Kazakh people, you will understand Buryat people. If you will understand Buryat people, you could speak with Mongolian. If you could speak with Mongolian, you could speak with Iran people, and so on. So if you have ability to read, I don't know exactly, maybe 5,000 books, you will be quite wisdom. By the way, maybe after 3 or 4 weeks, I will issue another book, which will call, I will call it Bookopedia, and in this book would be 1,000 best chosen books for 100 skills.
Well, this is quite impressive. And then my last question will be how knowing about wisdom could help to make this world a better place.
Wisdom, it's like a tavar, like a good.
Like a good, like commodity.
Like commodity, yes, much better. Thank you. Wisdom is a commodity. So if you just clever, if you have enough money, if you have some ability to do something, you are lucky. But if you are a wisdom man, you will lucky forever. When I have been to Uzbekistan, I found very funny things. This was a chaykhana. I don't know how to say it in English, but this is like a tea house.
Tea house.
House. And what's funny? This was a special room for very old men, and they were spending all day sitting there. And they were not using just cap and a tea chainik, teapot. They were using just trends, and this tea was going by the pipes. So they just take it like a water, but already with tea. And they were drinking all the day this green tea. And I have some problems with one of my clients. And suddenly he told me, okay, maybe we couldn't find solution with police and some other governmental officials. Then go to the market. And we came to the market when we entered this tea house, and we asked one old a guy who could help us with such a deal, and he pointed us to another old man. We came to him. We were waiting until he will sip his tea and open eyes, and he was ask us what you want to hear from me. And then we told him what is our problem, and I was making this like in traditional way without any hope for luck. But suddenly this man told, yes, I have a son and he will solve all your problem. but you should make some sacrifice to one temple. And you know, it was like a tribal time. But after 2 days, my client making a call, and he was thanking to me, and he said, yes, we have solved. Thank you for your patience, and thank you for understanding. I was afraid that you will refuse to talk this old men, but they will not help me because I am local and I'm already guilty for some stuff. But you are a new one, and they will help you, and you have done your job well.
And we review the skill of wisdom and how it could be helpful for you. Stay in peace.